Yeah, it's very tempting to say so. When we start, harkening back to 1989, which we thought we'd never see those heights again, then it does certainly, from a technical standpoint, look tempting to say that. I'd say there's a little bit of confusion, I think, and almost the mystery among investors as to why exactly Japan has rallied to this degree. For as long as I've been investing, and that's been over 25 years, there have been talk about this is the decade for Japan, this is the time for Japan to return. And many fund managers and fund launches have come and gone in that interim period, and it's never transpired. Now, all of a sudden, it seems that shareholder value is returning to Japan, that the time has finally come. There certainly is a tech angle, and that's helpful because we know that everything with tech in it or AI in it seems to be a very hot area right now. So that's helping. But it still is a little bit of a concerning thing as to why Japan has risen just by quite so much so quickly when some of the fundamentals around the demographics, around their deflationary history, none of that has really changed.
Aoifinn, 39,000, so we're back to peak Nikkei. Last time it happened in 89 when we were at these levels. Yen was, interestingly, around about the same level, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, around about 150, right? The big difference now is that, the Bank of Japan is on the cusp of raising interest rates. I mean, back in 89, we all should remember what happened after peak Nikkei, right? Are things different this time around?
Well, again, I'd say that that's where we have to show some caution. I mean, certainly after seeing these levels at 30-year highs, that is, again, back to your question earlier, is it too late already to capture this in Japan? Remember, there has been a desperate attempt to inject some inflation into this economy for many, many years, and it was unsuccessful. So because there's a high savings rate, there's, as I mentioned, the demographics are not in favor, and it's just been challenging to actually get some growth and some inflation there. So as to whether that's going to be possible this time around, very unclear. And I'd say, watch the space. It's not particularly widely held in global portfolios at the moment. So perhaps it isn't going to have a huge impact on non-Japanese investors. But it is an interesting phenomenon, I'll say that.
What's your best expectation as to when the BOJ exits, Aoifinn, and when we should put on the dreaded long yen short JGP trade?
Ooh, I'm not sure I could. That might be a little bit above my pay grade to suggest something like that. But, we're looking at central banks around the world, and clearly it's out of sync with other central banks that hasn't been facing the same inflationary headwinds that other central banks were. So it's very hard to take a read for any synchronicity from other central banks and apply it to the Bank of Japan. So it's going to be marching to its own tune. And of course, with this nice tailwind now of strong markets, difficult to say.